UFC Fight Night Austin Dariush versus Tsarukyan just took place, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main events, giving my reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelim opener of Veronica Hardy versus Jamey-Lyn Horth. Veronica Hardy won this fight. I thought this was a pretty clear one to her based on the first 2 rounds. It was a decent scrap. To be honest with you, the prelims sort of kicked off a bit and then it sort of dulled down towards the end of the card. But I was wrong on this fight. I was wrong on a lot of fights on this card. But it was basically just both of them pushing each other up against the cage, getting the occasional takedown here and there. Both of them working their way back up to their feet here and there. And Veronica Hardy was a lot faster than Jamey-Lyn Horth from what I saw. Edged out the first round, in my opinion. Edged out the second round as well. One judge gave it to Jamey-Lyn Horth. It was a close fight, but I did score it to Veronica Hardy based on the first and second round. But the third round was Jamey-Lyn Horth's. However, Veronica Hardy gets another win, and she's starting to put together a bit of a win streak. We move on. Up the card, Wellington Turman versus Gooden. Another big fight on the card that I didn't get correct. I picked Wellington Turman to win. And Wellington Turman was doing okay in this fight. He was landing some good shots. Both guys had their moments. Wellington Turman got his takedown at the end of the first round as well, which was pretty good of him as well because he was fighting so much like Alex Pereira. He started to use that style massively. And then Gooden catches him on the inside with a nice shot, wobbles Wellington Turman all over the place, and then starts beating him up badly. I thought it was going to be a TKO, but eventually Wellington Turman falls into bottom position, gives up his back to ground and pound, and Gooden gets himself a 50k bonus for a really nasty finish. Really nasty finish. Good job from Gooden. We move on. Rodolfo Bellato versus Ihor Poteria. Poteria fumbled it, man. And I picked Bellato. I could have been another fight wrong here. Poteria had him in that first round badly. Bellato was doing good. You know, he was taking some shots, but he was working well. And then at one point when Poteria's back was up against the cage, he caught Bellato with something that Poteria does very well, which is these short inside cuffing hooks that he throws. And he caught Bellato with them really well, dropped him, hurt him badly, and then just fumbled the finish by not getting the distance that he needed. And Bellato survived it, ended up working for a takedown of his own, got it, I believe, or at least worked his way back up to his feet and stayed in the fight a little bit longer. Round 2, Poteria got on top of Bellato. Bellato ended up on top afterwards, started beating him up with ground and pound and full mount, and Bellato's a big, strong dude, so Poteria just couldn't shake him off of him. Ended up getting a TKO win, did Bellato. Amazing comeback win after being really badly hurt in the first round. Poteria's going to kick himself for that one because he genuinely had that in the bag and fumbled it. We move on. Up the card, Drakkar Klose versus Solecki. A can of Sprite has fallen off my desk. Drakkar Klose with one of the 2 slam KOs that we saw on this card. Crazy, I know. You don't normally see slam KOs, but they were legal because there was a submission hold being gone for. Solecki started the fight, got the takedown immediately, got the back of Drakkar Klose, and then Drakkar Klose ended up reversing that position, ended up on top, trying to do some damage with elbows, but Solecki was sort of throwing up his legs, trying to get arm bars, trying to get things going, was proven to have a pretty dangerous guard that Klose couldn't really do much from. And then eventually he went for an armbar, and instead of getting out of the armbar, Drakkar Klose just went, right, you're going to go for this. I'm going to pick you up and slam you on the side of your head, which he did to Solecki, putting him out cold, badly. Drakkar Klose gets a TKO win, and also got a 50k performance bonus. I picked him to win that one as well. We move on. Reese versus Cody Brundage. Same thing, but Brundage was swinging heavy in the first round, landed a couple of decent shots on Reese, ended up getting the takedown on him as well. Reese was on bottom position, throwing up his legs a couple of times. I think he almost had something at one point, went for a leg, you know, started throwing his legs up there. I think he landed an up kick on Cody Brundage, if I remember correctly as well. Threw up his legs into a triangle, which is basically in on Cody Brundage. So what does Brundage do? Oh, I just saw Drakkar Klose do this from backstage. I'm going to pick this dude up and dunk him on his head, side of his head. Again, picked him up, dunked him. That's one way to escape a triangle. Finished off Reese, landed a couple of follow-up shots. Cody Brundage saves his career. We move on. Up the card, Miesha Tate versus Avila. Miesha Tate dominated her this fight. won the fight in the third round with a rear naked choke, and in that rear naked choke, Julia Avila actually nearly choked on her gum shield. It was actually quite a worrying moment where it was more of a face crank and her gum shield popped off her teeth and just went to the back of her throat, so she tapped out immediately. I think she would have tapped anyway, but it was more of like a panicky, like I can't breathe, it's in my mouth type tap. Miesha Tate won the fight using her wrestling. Charged forward at the start of every round, throwing her jab out there. Julia Avila didn't really know what to do about it, and eventually Miesha Tate worked a single leg or a double leg, dragging Julia Avila down to the canvas, and did that every single round, getting the back, getting mount, landing shots, and just dominated her start to finish, winning the fight in the third round. Very good job by Miesha Tate. She got a good win. We move on. Up the card, Punahele Soriano versus Dustin Stoltzfus. I went with Punahele Soriano here. I did. I thought he'd be able to catch Stoltzfus on the chin. And he did catch Stoltzfus on the chin in round one. He really did land some really good shots on Stoltzfus, cracking him a bunch of times with some really nasty work. But Stoltzfus stayed in there. Stoltzfus stayed in there, landed good shots back, landed a lot of body kicks on Punahele Soriano that started to wear him down, a couple low kicks as well. Punahele was just throwing overhands at him over and over again, dipping forward, throwing overhands, dipping forward, throwing left hooks. And eventually Stoltzfus started to make reads on this. I had Punahele Soriano winning round one until the very end of it because I thought, okay, Stoltzfus has landed more shots and more significant shots, but Punahele looks like he's wobbled him a few times with some decent shots. Not badly, but Stoltzfus looked like, whoa, that was a big shot that hit me, and then he sort of got back into composure. So I gave it to Punahele Soriano, but then he got dropped at the very end of the first round. And then in round two, the takedowns of Stoltzfus started coming into play. Dragging down Punahele Soriano, tripping him, slamming him, making him second-guess himself on the feet as well. Landing good shots of his own on the feet with punches. And Stoltzfus worked him. Worked him badly. Got the submission in round two. Very good job by Dustin Stoltzfus. And for Soriano, that might be it for his career. It's a tough watch because I thought he could have actually been something, but Stoltzfus gets it done. We move on. Up the card, Guida versus Joaquim Silva. I went with Joaquim Silva, but fair play to Guida, man. He put up a great fight. I'm just going to check if I remember this fight correctly. Round 1 and 3 I gave to Joaquim Silva, if I remember right. Yes, even though Guida landed more and seemed to knock Silva off balance in round 1, Silva at the end of round 1 seemed like he was nearly finishing Guida with combos and knees and elbows. So it was like, okay, Joaquim Silva gets round 1. But in round 2, Guida comes right back, escapes a guillotine, ends up on top, starts to get his takedowns over and over again. Not over and over, but gets his takedowns that then Silva would immediately get back up from. So they didn't end up giving him a lot of those takedowns, even though he did get takedowns on him and take him to the canvas. But Silva's got great takedown defense, so he kept getting back up. And it started to get a bit tricky for Silva. He even hurt Guida to the body in round 2. But Guida just toughed through it, landed his own good shots, got his own takedowns, won round 2 in my opinion. Round 3, Joaquim Silva just outlanded him, did the better strikes, and Guida couldn't get his takedown. And Joaquim Silva started going for guillotines and, you know, neck cranks to sort of sprawl himself out of some of those bad positions. So, good job to him. Solid performance. Well, it's terrible. You should be finishing Guida at this point. But respect to Guida for toughing it out and giving him a very tough fight. We move on. Sean Brady versus Kelvin Gastelum. Absolute domination from Sean Brady, eventually getting himself a third round submission with a Kimura on Kelvin Gastelum. Nasty performance from him. I did not see this coming because I've always seen Brady as like a guy who has struggled a lot through his wins in his career. But Sean Brady, turns out if you ain't got Belal Muhammad's god tier takedown defense, you're getting taken down by Sean Brady. And he ragdolled Kelvin Gastelum in this fight. Gastelum would land like a good shot at the start of each round that would make you go, ooh, hang on, that was a good one. But then Brady would just take him down and dominate him on the ground, tie him up, traverse to the back, get a hook in on the back, make Kelvin work, drag him down again, get another takedown, get mount, get side control, get back to mount again, lose it, and then end up on the back. And he just made sure he was one step ahead of Kelvin Gastelum the entire fight long. And Kelvin, no matter what he did, although he did scramble back up to his feet at times, he just couldn't do it enough to keep himself up. Like, Sean Brady had, I want to say, like, out of the 12 minutes that this fight was, I want to say Brady was on top position for about 10 minutes of it. Dominant performance, eventually getting the Kimura in round 3. And Kelvin got shocked with welterweight skill level, in my opinion. I didn't see that coming because I thought, okay, Kelvin's going to be strong. He's going to shake him off and then beat him up on the feet. But Kelvin was overthrowing shots, scared to throw kicks. His cornerman even told him, don't throw any kicks whatsoever. We're not doing that. And yeah, didn't work out for Kelvin. Sucks for him. Ended up losing, getting dominated. Good job, Sean Brady. Wasn't the most entertaining performance, but it was a dominant win, and that's what you can ask for. We move on. Rob Font versus Deiveson Figueiredo. Deiveson Figueiredo had the performance of his career. He got cracked a couple of times in this fight, but he was the one that was wobbling Rob Font in this fight. I thought Font was going to stick his jab in his face on Figueiredo with his hands down, trying to lean back and land shots, and Font's going to just have different range than he's used to, and just start landing good shots on him. But Figueiredo landed good shots to the body. Figueiredo wobbled Font with a jab at one point in round one and hurt him badly and started going for him, but it ended up in a bad position. Figueiredo was the one going for takedowns. Even if Font ended up getting back to his feet, Figueiredo was mixing him in, so it made Font second guess himself. Round two, Figueiredo, same situation. Both guys landing good shots. Font landing good shots this time, starting to land a few, and then boom, Figueiredo would crack him. Wobble him, have him skating backwards like, whoa, what's going on here? And Figueiredo would start looking for a finish, rip to the body, rip to the head, stayed patient. Round three, similar situation. Figueiredo would do all right, get hit a couple shots, wobble Rob Font, go for him, end up getting a takedown in round three to secure himself the victory. He won at 30-27, and I did not expect that to happen, so very well done from Deiveson Figueiredo, showing he's still got it. Flyweights are giving the bantamweights. What for? You know what I mean? Pseudo beats Dillashaw. Pseudo moves up, wins the belt. Has a really close fight with Sterling at the time as well. And then you got what? Kai Kara France sleeping Garbrandt when he tries to move down. Figueiredo moving up now, beating Rob Font. The flyweights are showing that they're about it compared to the bantamweights. And although the bantamweights, I think, on average are a better division, flyweights have still got it. And let's not forget, Figueiredo was a world champion, so he's no slouch. Great performance by him. Dominated Rob Font, 30-27. It was a competitive fight, but he just had the moments where he wobbled Font, and that was the difference maker. Great performance from him. We move on. Up the card, Jalin Turner versus Bobby Green. Oh, my God. So the fight was Bobby Green sticking his hands down and basically trying to bait Jalin Turner into throwing first so he could dip and lunge in with big shots and crack Jalin Turner on the chin. That's basically what this fight was in a nutshell. Bobby Green was trying to bait him in, slip, and launch in with these big shots. He landed a couple of them early on, but Jalin would land kicks. He would land punches, and he was stinging Bobby Green a few times before that KO happened, and I was like, ooh, that is a good left hook, right hook from Jalin Turner with his long reach, 6'3" at lightweight. Wait, bully bitch. Bobby Green was having trouble with the range of Jalin Turner. Kept putting his hands down, talking to Jalin every time he got hit by him and trying to sort of lure him into a bit of a slugfest. And then Jalin catches him with a perfect right hand after a one. Straight on the side of the head. Bobby Green goes jelly-legged all over the place. Jalin puts him out cold with the very next punch. The referee then watches Bobby Green unconscious on the ground, sometimes laying like this, sometimes with his head up like this, not moving whatsoever, watches Bobby Green take 10 more unanswered strikes right on his head, side of the head, back of the head, one of them hit, right on the jaw side as Jalin Turner's winding up with big shots. Bobby Green is not progressing position. He's not responding. Look how you stopped the Yuri, not the same ref, but look how the referee stopped the Yuri versus Pereira fight. This ain't a title fight, and even if it was, that is an awful stoppage. One of the worst I've seen in recent UFC history. That is going to change Bobby Green's ability to take punches moving forward. I think he purely ruined Bobby Green's potential future career after this loss to Jalin Turner, so that ref should never ref a UFC fight again. One of the worst stoppages I've ever seen in my life. Unanswered shots after unanswered shots. Jalin Turner gets a win, which is amazing for him. Amazing win. But it got taken away because all I can think about is that terrible stoppage. So, sucks to be Bobby Green right now. He got really done dirty by that ref. We move on to the main event. Beneil Dariush versus Arman Tsarukyan. So, Beneil starts the fight doing quite well. Inside low kicks, body kicks as well. I believe he was landing a few of. And Arman seemed a little bit hesitant to go at first. Wasn't really committing to too many shots. Seeing what Beneil Dariush maybe had for him. And Dariush was like swinging at the inside leg. Going for the body kick. Going for big punches as well. And Arman was just waiting and watching. Then, there's not much to break down in this fight. Then, Arman Tsarukyan, I believe, throws a right hand that I think actually initially did shock Beneil Dariush. He threw a right hand right behind the ear of Beneil, like there, maybe on the ear. And Beneil sort of went, oof. And I thought He landed a knee to the face, then a right hand afterwards, Umar Nurmagomedov, Raoni Barcelos style. But he didn't even land the knee, which makes me think that maybe he sort of discombobulated Dariush with that right hand right on the ear, around the guard, and then that knee didn't even do anything because it didn't even really land. And then the right hand on an offbeat as Dariush is already going like this, like after being hit with a right hand, I guess, and feeling like the momentum of the knee against his arms as he's trying to cover. And then he gets caught leaning back, chin wide up in the air, right on the jaw by Arman Tsarukyan's right hand. And Arman Tsarukyan finishes off with some brutal ground and pound, finishing off the job in round 1 by TKO. Amazing performance by him. Good card overall. There was just so many adverts. I know they were doing the cancer thing, but wasn't really complaining about that. But like, adverts or that, you know what I mean? It was like there was so much time in between these fights. And I like finishes, but I don't like waiting 20 minutes between each fight. This ain't Bellator or boxing, you know what I mean? Like, let's get this going and start fights. I've always thought this. If there's a finish, we should be rewarded with a quicker paced card. But it seems like nowadays, if there's a finish, it's like, oh, God, round 1 finish. Now we got to wait 30 minutes for the next fight between Miesha Tate and Julia Avila. You know what I mean? It's just, sometimes it takes too long, but it was a good card overall in terms of the fights. Very entertaining. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I believe I went like 5-5 or something along those lines. Maybe 6-6. Not the best for predictions, but I got the main and co-main, so it is what it is. See you later. Goodbye.